Welcome, one and all, to the show. Wired up, fired up, and absolutely ready to go. Episode 40 of the BlueTruth Show, New York Rangers Talk with Brian Attard, powered by the Sportsbox Network. Like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you to those who are watching the live stream this evening for watching it live. If you are watching the YouTube replay, thank you for that as well. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Maybe you'll catch one of the live streams on one of these episodes. Tonight is Thursday, April the 18th, and we, ladies and gentlemen, are just a matter of days away from the start of the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs for our New York Rangers on Sunday afternoon. It is finally that time. The playoffs are upon us. Tonight, we'll take a look back at the 82-game regular season, and it was a good one. With this record, and that's all great. It's time for the real season to start. But to really appreciate where we are, we need to talk about where we've been. But before we do that, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge that on this day 25 years ago, Wayne Gretzky played his final National Hockey League game as a member of the New York Rangers. It was his 1487th game, a 2-1 overtime loss to the Penguins at Madison Square Garden. The Great One played his final 3 seasons as a Ranger, putting up 52 goals, 192 assists in that time. The team fell short in their run in 1997, but we can always say that the greatest to ever lace them up finished his career as one of ours. Wayne Gretzky will never be, Wayne Gretzky will never be matched. All this talk of Ovechkin and the goal record, that's great. Wayne was Wayne. Dimitri, what's up, brother? How are you? Nick Arena, how are you, sir? Doing well. Steve Rotundo, let's go Rangers. Veronica, let's go Rangers. Rolo, hello, fellow fans of the President's Trophy winning New York Rangers. Yes, we have a lot to talk about on that end for sure. Joe Garcia, what's up, brother? How are you? Jonathan Riggs, Mario. I love seeing all the names that love to watch the show whenever I do them. It gets me excited to do them. So thank you for that. The question must be asked. How did we get here? Well, the journey of this season started just over a year ago. The loss to the Devils. We talked at length this past summer about last year's collapse, and that's absolutely what it was. By definition, that was a collapse. I think the vibe right now is that we haven't forgotten, but we're all generally in a better state of mind going into the postseason this year. I've maintained this all this time, and I maintain it now, that we were not upset as much with the fact that the Rangers lost that series, but more so how they lost that series. How they showed that they could be dominant in the games that they won, especially early on, and then were almost non-existent in their losses, especially at the end. Basically, they folded. We forget, I think, that the Rangers were not the favorite in that series. They were the 3 seed in the Metro last year. This team is not that team in a multitude of ways. These New York Rangers had the best regular season in the almost 100-year history of the franchise. Never before have the Rangers won 55 games in a season until now. Never before had the Rangers accumulated 114 points in a season until now. To be fair, the concept of the loser's point for an extra time loss is a generally new concept, as is the idea that games don't end in ties, which leads to more wins. Generally new as well. Should account for that. But this is the landscape of the NHL. And in comparison to other teams in the league, the Rangers won a lot of games this year. The Rangers finished the 82 games with just 4 overtime or shootout losses. 4 loser points, if you will. That was tied with Ottawa for the fewest in the league. The Rangers had 55 wins. 51 of those came in either regulation or overtime, not a shootout. That was tied with Winnipeg for best in the league. The Rangers won games this year. They didn't just accumulate loser points to get to their 114. For comparison's sake, The Islanders and Bruins had 16 and 15 loser points, respectively. The Islanders won 38 games, which, as far as I'm concerned, is under 500. This was not a fraudulent 114 points for the Rangers. They earned it. And you think back to January and how they just looked so out of sorts for a string there. They went 5-7-2 in January. And if they were even half of what they should have been in that stretch, of what they were the rest of the year, they run away with the best record. That is generally how dominant this team was this year. January was pretty much the low point of the season, but they just piled up wins. The 6-game winning streak in October, part of which was that 5-game sweep on the West Coast, 9-1-2 record in the month of November. The 10-game winning streak in February, they lost 1 game in the month of February. They won 15 of their final 20 games down the stretch. Carolina really turned it on, and they still couldn't catch the Rangers. The Rangers never let up. And I'm reminded of the season preview that we did, because I went back to look at some of my predictions to prepare for tonight. And the comments that I saw on social media coming into this year about, how the Rangers might not even make the playoffs, and how they have to go do another rebuild, and how they got to trade this guy away and that guy and this and that. And I just laugh because, again, all of those thoughts, those complaints, they came from a place of pain and anger at how they lost last year and who they lost to. You know who you are. I'm not going to call names out. It's just funny to look back in retrospect based on where we are right now. There was so much negativity coming into this season. So much negativity. And now, not so much. I think everybody's pretty hunky-dory right now, right? Matt, let's go Rangers. Freaking pumped. John, go Rangers. Mario, what a regular season. So hyped for the playoffs. Let's go. Rolo, trust but verify. John, impressive. Kristen Carl. To be fair, I do tend to use that. To be fair, we do have to account for these things. Peter, brother, I wonder which team is better on paper, though, Brian. That's fair. Mike, what's up, brother? How are you? PJ, Tom, hey, Brian. By the way, our friends from Review and Preview, check those guys out. They are wonderful, awesome people. Still seeing a lot of Rempe lovers. I think he's more detrimental than beneficial to this team in the playoffs, at least this year. Well, we'll touch on that. I think there's a time and a place. I think that spot's still kind of up in the air. We'll see where that goes. Kind of says the series is going 7. Always the eternal optimist, but we'll talk. There were a lot of great individual stories for the Rangers this year. Start right at the top. What else needs to be said about Artemi Panarin? Our fan base absolutely killed Artemi Panarin over the summer. And that is a response that he earned. I'm not saying he didn't. But he came back with a lot less hair and put up 49 goals and 120 points. It's a shame he didn't get to 50. You knew they were trying to get it for him, especially in that last game. But we knew early on this year that he had something going this year. He was on a mission to break the stigma of last year. What an unbelievable effort by him this year. A elite, true, superstar level player. And he played like it. Chris Kreider. Everybody wants to get rid of Chris Kreider all the time because he doesn't play the way some want him to play. Forget the fact that he has a full no movement clause and is going to get his number 20 retired to the rafters at MSG before we know it. But everyone just says, get rid of Chris Kreider. 39 goals this year. You know what's kind of funny? I did the math. Kind of funny to me anyway. Kreider's goals per dollar of contract is like right in line with Austin Matthews. They're both at about $168,000 a goal. Something like that. Matthews had 69 goals. It's nice, but I get it. But the Rangers have gotten and continue to get great production for their investment in Chris Kreider. And I was on the trade Kreider train before he was signed to that extension. But he's been great. He may never be what people want him to be physically. Whatever. The team that scores more goals wins games, and he scores goals. Not everybody can do everything. Comments. Needs to shave his head before the playoffs. Mike Cobb, Rangers are for real. Jonathan Riggs, breadman on a mission this year. Last year's result really got to him. Dimitri, and there's a lot of truth to this, I think, that Gerard Gallant held him back from performing to this level. You think back to the quote he said that he was trying to do some dumb shit at the blue line. I think that there was a lot of tension there. A lot of tension there. And I'm afraid I want to pick certain comments specifically because I'm getting to points, I promise you. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But John, guy's been a major staple. Yes. Panarin was a born-again, hard-to-grow Full Metal Jacket. Kreider contract will never stop being a steal. Most underappreciated 40-goal scorer. I think overall, Kreider has been lived up to his contract. Velasquez, who I know had a plan to send Artemi to the West Coast. Most critical on Panarin, but put together the most impressive season I've ever seen. 100%. Yes. He responded absolutely. Mika had a down year. And he still put up 72 points. I think we can acknowledge it was a down year. I also think he didn't need to shoulder the load as much because the team had more scoring depth this year. So it's a good year, even if it's not to the standard that we've grown accustomed to from Mika's advantage. Is there concern longer term? Oh, yeah. I'm very concerned about him longer term. Turned 31 today, and there's 6 more years on his contract. But we have a whole off season, hopefully 2.5 months away, that we'll talk about Mika and his contract and dive into it. Not tonight. Tonight we're in good moods. We're not focusing on the negative as much as possible. Anyway. Vinny Trocheck, second year in New York, just an unbelievable year from him. I don't think anybody saw that coming. He was second on the team in points with 77. That line with him and Panarin and Lafreniere, one of the best lines in the league. That's their first line as far as I'm concerned. He was tremendous this year, almost 59% from the dot. Only Crosby had more faceoffs this year, won more faceoffs this year. How many years has it been since the Rangers have had that kind of strength at the faceoff dot? They've been absolute trash in the faceoff circle forever, it feels like. Super year for Vincent Trocheck. I think anybody's worried about that contract right now. Again, a couple years we'll talk, but right now, 5-something, I think 5-6. Can't be upset with that. Lafreniere getting almost 60 points, finally looking like that top pick that he was meant to be. He's 22 years old, people. People were ready to just let him go in the offseason over the summer. Where would this team be without him? That whole line. Just stupid good all year. But him specifically, for the long-term future of this team, he needed this kind of a breakout year. Such a different player this year. So much more confidence. Lafreniere had 28 goals this season with very minimal power play time. We've said over and over and over and over and over again that top picks like Alexis Lafreniere go to teams who suck. That's why they're picking one. And they immediately get showered with top 6 minutes and all the power play time that they can handle. He wasn't afforded that here because he didn't go to a team that sucked. They won a lottery that they weren't supposed to win. Great year. You can see his confidence growing, and you love to see it. Kid's a player. Complete 180 in this fan base on him this year. On a lot of guys this year, but him specifically, I really think that's there for sure. I got to start blocking bots. I hate these people that start commenting links that they don't want you to go. Anyway, Mario, maybe Mika will bust out in the playoffs. Hopefully. Be great. Mika's been great defensively. Concerned if his scoring doesn't come back. Again, I think they're relying less on him though. Like I think that it's crazy to say that he's not a focal point, but because the Panarin line's been so good, the pressure's kind of been taken off of Mika and Kreider. Kreider's been fine. I would love to see more from Mika. Maybe it'll be Mika May if it wasn't Mika March. We'll see. Zibby he just wasn't in some of the games too many times. I don't disagree with that. I think that's fair. Chad Roberts, Chytil play in the playoffs. We'll talk about that. That's coming up. Vinny was tremendous. Trocheck was unbelievable. Worked well with everyone. Knew how to score. Best in the faceoff circle. Hank and Dichter, we're feeling great, brother. The real season starts on Sunday. No laughing matter anymore. The show is reaching across the world. Kimberly Hines sending love from Australia. I think that's my first overseas viewer, at least when it told me anyway. Chris said, I love Laffy. Always been rooting for him. Apparently Zuccarello scored a goal. I actually have that game on. I'm not really paying attention to it over here. Laugh looked great this year. I was negative towards him because of the previous years, but I showed what he was made of this year. Do you think Benino not being on the team had a positive impact? Yeah, because he was not good. I think for the longest time, and that's heel injury really caused this, but I mean, Benino's not a third line center, put it lightly. Yeah. So I mean, the players they moved off from were good. I was, pretty happy with that. Kristen, as a Ranger fan, I want to celebrate Chytil's return. As a nurse, I'm worried as hell about him. Multiple concussions are nothing to play with, and he's risking his health and his future. You can only talk to the doctors. I mean, what else can you do? I mean, they're paid for a reason. I hear you. I don't disagree with you. We'll talk about that in a minute. It is still constructive to see him play, but we'll get there. Promise you on that. Adam Fox. It's Adam Fox. He's as bright a mind as there is in the game. You take for granted the plays that he makes because he just makes them routinely all the time. Such a talent, such a threat, such a pleasure to watch. You just run out of good things to say when you talk about Adam Fox. Now, I thought he took too many penalties in the second half of the year, but I think that was more the referees than him. Whatever, clean that up. It's fine. What more can you say? He's top 2, 3 in the game. Igor Shesterkin. When he's on, he is so good. So good. He had his moments where he struggled this year, but he's been absolutely tremendous the last little while down the stretch. He gives them an advantage over basically every other team they come up against. And he will need to be the Igor that we are accustomed to in the playoffs for them to really have any shot at anything. But he's been great. Had a little bit of a, slick little run there. I mean, what more can you ask? Really? Best in the world? Best in the world. Jonathan Quick. On a team with so many good stories, Jonathan Quick actually might be the best story of them all. 18-6-2 as the backup. They don't win the President's Trophy without Jonathan Quick. No way. And as bad as he looked in the preseason and the way people talked as if he might not even make the team out of camp. What a year. What a year. Benoit Allaire again. Unbelievable. You want to draw a correlation in 1994? He's this year's Glenn Healy. How about that? All these comments coming in. I love it. We had a lot of viewers tonight, guys. This is fantastic. I'm trying to see where I was here. Okay. Fox is a cerebral assassin on the ice. That's exactly what he is. That is precisely what he is. He is so smart. Jennifer Kate, how are you? Good to see you. Can I get an amen? Fox at the beginning, when he got hurt, wasn't the same. Boy, did he wake up. I mean, he's Fox. It's crazy because again, we get used to seeing him do the things that he does, and it's just happenstance. It's like we're used to it. We're not even impressed anymore. Love seeing Fox shoot more. Parker, my favorite story is Lafreniere broke out this year. Plus, after the deadline, Kako came back strong from his injury. Third line's been doing very well. Absolutely. If he plays like this in the playoffs, look out. Yep. Quick as a backup, not too worried in the goalies. Joe Garcia, who was a huge surprise this season. Dmitry, Quick was so valuable this year. He stood on his head when Igor was at his worst. And that's the thing, too. You know, you think back to these last couple of years. I mean, Igor always has this kind of stretch where he kind of goes through it. And that's, I mean, he's human, right? But like the backup goalie has just not been supportive. Like, not like this. Like, this is, you know, he's earned that extra year for next year. 100%. Really, really happy with how that worked out. Fox is a fox. Fox is a light leech. Needs to keep shooting. Right on, guys. Right on. You know, I listed many players. I won't list them all, but there's such a general vibe of positivity around this team that could not be any more different than the way last year ended. And I think if you take nothing else, we're all in such a 180, I feel, because the anger was real. It was palpable. You know, we talked it through. We were each other's therapy last year, and they're in a much better place right now. A much, much better place right now. I want to take this opportunity, now that the regular season has concluded, to look at those predictions that we made around the over-unders for the team's key players. If we were right or wrong, or, hey, you know, if we were really wrong, sometimes that happens too. We're not infallible here. We don't necessarily, you know, we're not weathermen. Zibanejad. Zibanejad's over-under for goals was 35.5. His points were 84.5. BlueTruth thought that Zibby's goals would go under, and it did. Mika ended the year with 26 goals, clearly under the 35.5 number. Coming into this year, I thought that Laviolette would balance the lines more than Gerard Gallant did, which would hurt Mika's scoring. I did think he'd clear 30, though. Fell short of that, too, to be fair. Points-wise, I thought his assists would go up from last year, and I took him over on that number. The points fell short. I think part of it falling short, though, and I think I want to hear some thoughts on this, is because there wasn't a lack of a consistent right winger all year. That's kind of where, when you start to project out point totals and the assists, I think we all thought that Kakko would take that by the horns and go. He really didn't, right? It is what it is. So that's probably why we thought that Mika would get maybe fewer goals, more points. I don't think that really materialized. Down year, like we said. It's reality. Acknowledge it. It's okay. Kreider. Kreider's over-under was 35.5. I had the over on this. We thought coming into the year that he'd be above that 35.5 number, finished with 39. We thought that he'd get more goals on the power play this year, which he did. He had 8 last season on the man advantage, ended up with 18 this year. Hit that one again. Everybody wants to get rid of Chris Kreider. All he does is put up numbers. So, say Levitt. Panarin. 20.5 goals, 93.5 points. In my infinite wisdom, I said Panarin would get 25 goals. And he said, you know what? I'll just double it. How about that? Happy to be wrong on that one. Unbelievable year for Brad. I thought that it would be Chytil at center and not Trocheck, and I thought that Chytil being more of a shooter than Trocheck, at least coming into the season, that Panarin's assists would take his points total over, but it would be his expensive goals. I felt a big points year was coming. That did come. The goals just... what a year, man. Like all of this negativity around him after coming out of last year, like he pretty much shuts up all of our asses. I mean, let's just be honest. Like all the hate that we had coming out of the series and how he was just a nothing against New Jersey. You know, was it the hair? Maybe they'll write books about it in the future. Who knows? Foxy, 71.5 points. I liked the over. I loved the over. And he did it with 73 points in just 72 games. So he was a point-a-game player. Stud. Consistent. Fox had 74 and 72 points the last 2 years. So he's like right there. Just pencil him in for 70. Like we said before, you run out of compliments for a player like this, absolute gem. Igor. 34.5 wins was the number. I loved the over on this, but I loved the over because I thought that he would play more. Now, we got 36, so he cleared it. But I thought that Igor would play around 65 games, which is why I thought there was no way he wouldn't clear the number. He cleared that in 55. And that's not just a credit to him. That is a credit to Jonathan Quick. Rangers goaltending this year was fantastic. Both of them. And it's a huge reason why they finished where they finished. So I was right with the pick. I was wrong in the rationale. Sometimes better to be lucky than good. Rangers points total 103.5. Now, again, it's fun to look back, make fun of yourself. I do all the time. I'm wrong all the time. I liked the under on this simply because I thought that there would be some pain to start the year, getting used to a new coach that actually had a game plan, unlike the douchebag who's not here anymore. I thought that there would be some ramp up needed, and I was wrong about that. Fantastically happy to be wrong about that. 114 points, cleared it by a wide margin. So, all in all, great regular season. But that's all it was. The regular season. Regular season is now over. Everyone's 0-0. After Monday's win over Ottawa, slate was wiped clean. We said this in November, and we're saying it now. This team was always going to be judged by what they did or do in the postseason. All of these glowing things that I just said about them, all of these gaudy numbers, all of these wins in the regular season, frankly, means absolutely nothing now. Now is when the real hockey starts. Now is when the tournament for the Stanley Cup starts on Sunday. Comments. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss enough of this. John, let's not jinx this team, please. Quick blew my mind this year. He did so much work. Such a great year. I mean, just an underrated. Nobody saw that coming, especially not with the way the preseason went, because there were talks of he wasn't going to make it. So, Jonathan Riggs, we have really nice depth this year. A lot of bottom six guys made big strides. Parker, at the beginning of the year, I didn't feel good about this team. I thought it'd be an average year and the Devils would destroy us. Man, was I wrong. And isn't it a great feeling to be wrong? All of us, all these people that said, oh, the Rangers might not make the playoffs. I mean, how happy are they to be wrong? It's okay. Nothing wrong about that. Awesome job, folks, in the big trophy. I'm 57, season ticket holder for 30 years. I've seen it all. Dimitri, right on. Mika should play right wing or get a good right wing to play with, responsible for chasing pucks, being the first guy back, therefore taken away from scoring. If he played wing or had a good right wing on his side, he would have been better. Does Panarin have a shaved head on Sunday? I don't know if you want to upset Faith, Tom. Things are going good right now. I want to just let it ride. Panarin's on a mission this year. Anything short of the finals is a failure. Noah, thank God. Noah is a good Penguins fan. We talk all the time. Great kid. Thank God we didn't make it just to get swept. And we talk about that. We talk about the idea of don't make it just to lose. And, you know, as the rational Pens fan that he is, he's known the writings on the wall for 2 years, has not been a big fan of their Band-Aid attempts, which have not worked. So, you know, he knows the pain's coming, but they won a couple cups. That's okay. Cups last forever. We know. Peter, in my opinion, biggest hole is right wing with Mika. Tell me Roz will be fine there. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Now, I made a comment on the BlueTruth page that was generally well received, but some people were critical of it. So I want to walk through my thought process here. I said, please don't buy division championship gear. Don't buy the hat. Don't buy the t-shirt. Don't buy this weird looking puck they want to sell to you that says Metropolitan Division champions, because it is absolutely pointless and a waste of your time. It just is. Let me explain. If the Rangers are to win the Stanley Cup this season, which would be great, then you're going to wear the Stanley Cup champion shirt all summer long. Buy 10 of them. Buy 100. Last forever. But at that point, you're surely not going to wear the Metropolitan Division champion shirt. Who the hell cares? If the Rangers do not win the Stanley Cup this season, then you're going to rightfully be upset about the way the season ended, as you should be. At that point, you surely won't want to wear a Metropolitan Division champion shirt, who the hell cares? Let me show you something. This is the 2014 Eastern Conference Champions hat for the Rangers. As you can see, still has a tag on it. I've never put this hat on my head. What do you picture in your mind when you see this hat? Do you picture Marty St. Louis sniping the corner in overtime against Montreal off that Carl Hagelin pass? Do you picture that windmill save that Henrik made? Great, all-time great save. What do you see when you see this hat? I see failure. I see blowing game 1 against LA. I see blowing game 2 against LA. I see Kreider hitting the post in overtime of game 5. I see Alec Martinez. I see Henrik spread out on the ice after that overtime goal went in. I see him just emotionally dead in the locker room after it was over. I see nothing but failure. So yeah, it says champions on it. There you go. It says champions on it, right? But it means they finished second. It means they didn't win. One team wins, and it wasn't them. And that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of what they lost. Now, to be fair, I bought this a month after everything was over, and because I just came across it randomly in a Modell's, and it was the last one. But I never had any intention of wearing it. I bought it because, to me, I wanted the reminder of the missed opportunity. I hate this hat. I hate what this hat represents. I hate that they didn't win. And I hate that I couldn't buy a real hat to celebrate really winning what matters. I am a massive believer to my core that for the highs to be highs, the lows have to be low. If it doesn't hurt at all, then it doesn't mean a thing. This hat reminds me of how I felt that night, and it reminds me of the low. I say all of that to say this. Don't buy a division championship shirt. It doesn't matter. One thing matters. They are 16 wins away from it. I would love to look at this hat the night they win it all, the night they would have righted that wrong. I might even light it on fire. I don't really know yet. I haven't really thought that far ahead. But in what scenario are you ever wearing a division champion shirt after these playoffs? If they win it all, you won't care that they won the division. If they don't win it all, you won't care that they won the division. What's the point? And that's why I said, don't buy division stuff, because it doesn't matter. Comments. Division champs means absolutely nothing. PJ, we know. We agree. Window closing, Chris Wilhelm. It is. Not that much time left. I think they know it. And we'll see how they come out, because I think that they do know it. Shane, I picture failure. Justin, Hank lying on the ground after the Martinez goal. Choking in the finals. Goalie interference. Interference, no call on Hank. I picture blown 2-goal leads. See? All these comments are coming in. You know what I am talking about. Goalie interference. John, you're so spot on. Thank you, brother. Rick Nash missing a wide open net. Rangers blew games 1 and 2 in LA. Great point. Kristen was at that. Wow, you were at that game? Yes, I can imagine. But that's what I'm saying, right? I think, look, they go to the finals. Nobody's happier than me, but it doesn't mean it's an opportunity, right? We get excited when you win playoff rounds because what you're trying to win is still potentially there for you. You're not happy they won a round because they won a round. You're happy because the journey continues. So even, again, they make this hat for this year, great. I'm not buying it. I don't care. I want a championship hat and a championship shirt, and I will wear them forever. I was 10 years old when they won in 94, and I don't think I took that shirt off for more than 3 days. It's just, like I said, one thing matters, one team wins. That's the hat, that's the shirt. Buy 100 shirts. I couldn't care. Like, buy them forever. Buy them for all your friends. Buy them for people that you don't like. Have them shipped to their house to remind them that the Rangers won it all. That's what you buy, not this nonsense division championship crap. So that was my soapbox for the night, because I put that comment out there. I did wash it. I mean, my mom washed it a lot, PJ, but I was 10, so maybe, yeah, probably. But I was a happy little kid. I mean, I know it's a long time ago, but it doesn't feel like that long ago. I don't know. I'm 40. Time flies, man. My son's 6. We'll get to that in a minute too. Anyway, but let's pivot to talking about something unlike winning a division, which is important, and that is the playoffs. So the Rangers will open the postseason against the Washington Capitals, who punched their ticket in their last game of the season with an empty net goal in a tie game. That's pretty unique circumstances, but that's kind of how it works in the new NHL with regulation wins, overtime wins, regulation overtime wins, this, that, and a third. Poor Red Wings. The Red Wings really deserve to get in over Washington. It is what it is. This is a series that the Rangers should absolutely win. And on top of it, it should be short. More on why it needs to be short in a minute. But we just talked about how the Rangers just won games this year. Conversely, the Caps didn't. The Caps finished with 40 wins, which means they lost 42, which to me means you're under 500, because I can do basic math. I don't care how you lose your games. If you lose your games, wins versus losses, 40 games, 42 losses, but they got in the playoffs. They had a minus 36 goal differential. That is the worst of any team that made the playoffs since 1991. In 1-goal games, they were 20, 2, and 11. They excelled in extending games to overtime and losing. Great. That's how it works in the playoffs. In games decided by 2 or more goals, they were 20 and 29. Capital special teams, not that special. 17th on the power play, 18th on the penalty kill. I believe the Rangers finished top 5 in both. A power play with Alex Ovechkin firing rockets from his office was below average. That's who the Caps are. They don't score a lot. They were 28th in the league in goals scored. There are 32 teams in the league. They had 3 guys who scored 20 or more goals. Ovechkin did lead the way with 31. Dylan Strome had 27. And Anthony Mantha had 20 in 56 games. Probably the most efficient scorer, I guess, based on games played. Dylan Strome, which is Ryan's brother, was their leader, 67 points. That would have been 6th on the Rangers. Defensively, average at best, 17th in goals against. Any number scaring you yet? Any you getting any apprehension here? If you are, you probably have PTSD from those series against the Caps during the early part of the 2010s. Some of these names are the same, but it really isn't the same team. They are clearly a team that is on decline. They lost more games than they won this year. How nervous are you? This is a team that Peter Laviolette coached last year, so he knows them well. Spencer Carberry, their new coach, he doesn't really deserve a lot of credit for getting this team into the playoffs. But they got in because they were the least terrible of the teams that were vying for the spot. Flyers, the Penguins, the Red Wings, all just fell short. Well, they all stink too. So this was the smartest kid in remedial math, I guess, is the way to look at it. So if the Rangers don't win this series, last year is going to look like an amazingly fun time compared to how this fan base would react to a loss in this series. There is absolutely no reason, 0, that the Rangers should not get through this one. Washington is there because there have to be 8 teams that get in. This would be an all-time collapse. People talk about President's Trophy curse. I don't care. I don't buy it. The Rangers won in 1994. They won the President's Trophy. They won the Stanley Cup. Circumstance, I don't believe this nonsense. So don't play that voodoo crap on me. Whatever. I will say that the Rangers win this series in 5. They probably win games 1 and 2 at home. They might lose game 3 in Washington, and they win 4 and 5. You could not ask for a more advantageous matchup to get this playoff run going. They need to take advantage of it. They don't need to play these games. I'll tell you why in a second. Also, don't buy Fanatics. Well, you're running, Dimitri. First, we're running out of options with that because they got the contract. Washington played very strong defense down the stretch. They did. They played a bunch of crappy teams though, too, right, PJ? So to be fair, I admit to the PTSD. See, I do I know this fan base, Dimitri, or what? It's almost like I've been in it for 40 years. Caps are heading in a rebuilding direction. Anthony's not nervous at all about the Rangers winning. I feel the Caps will give them a run for their money or just get ran over. Christos, even if it gets to 6, it's an epic fail. We'll talk about that. Is it an easier route than last year? Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think the Devils were no slouch. The Rangers were not supposed to beat the Devils. I mean, they were because they were up 2-0 and they were dominant, but they weren't favored to win that series. So, I mean, this is you couldn't ask for anything better. Tom, always generational player, can carry a team. As long as we shut him down, there's nothing that would make this go past 5 games. I would agree. Anthony's going to take my thumb. Anthony, I'm going to get to your point. So, the Rangers need to make it a short series. Why? Well, let's go down memory lane. From 2011-12 to 2022-2023, the Rangers have played in 19 playoff series, and they have won 11 of them. Of the 11 that they won, 8 of them went the full 7 games. They lost a couple 7th games as well last year, for one. In 2011-12, the number 1 seeded New York Rangers, the black and blue shirts, they went 7 in the first 2 rounds with Ottawa and Washington. If you recall, they were down 3-2 in that series against Ottawa. Those Rangers ran out of gas, and they lost to the Devils in 6. I am sure you remember Adam Henrique's goal when Dan Girardi was completely out of position and Henrique had no chance. A movie we've seen before. In 2012-13, it took the Rangers 7 games to get by the Caps in round 1, only for the Bruins to dispatch them. They were down 3-0. Kreider won game 4 in overtime, and then in 5, they were out. Tortorella was fired. In 2013-14, the Rangers went the max with both Philadelphia and Pittsburgh before getting by a Carey Priceless Canadiens team in 6 and then losing in 5 to the Kings. In 14-15, a President's Trophy winning Rangers team was able to finally win a short series when they bounced Sydney in the Pens in 5. That was Carl Hagelin's overtime goal. I was there for that. Derek Stepan's Game 7 OT winner against the Caps moved the Rangers on to Tampa, where they would lose in 7 at home for the first time ever. That was the day I bought my house, for those of you who recall the MSG commercial, where I recall the story that buying my house was the second most important thing going on that day. 2015-16, Rangers lost in 5 to Pittsburgh in round 1. Team wasn't very good that year. Eric Stahl. Remember Eric Stahl was a Ranger for like a cup of coffee? The next year, the Rangers got past Montreal in 6 games. Remember that Kreider pass off somebody's foot that Zibanejad put past Carey Price? Great. I think it was game 5. And then they found a way to lose to Ottawa in 6, probably one of the most inexplicable series I recall. And then the rebuild came. Okay. The Rangers would make the playoffs again until 21-22, when, as we know, it took them 7 games against Pittsburgh, overtime. It took them 7 games against Carolina, good game 7. And then they blew a 2 series lead, 2-0 series lead to Tampa in the 3rd round. And last year was last year. You already know. Don't need me to tell you. So I say all of that to say that for whatever reason, this team has an allergy to winning a short series. It's a serious problem. It has been a serious problem. And it's a problem that I feel has cost them legitimate chances to win a Stanley Cup. The Rangers absolutely, positively, no questions asked, need to make this a short series. End. Spot. Done. Period. Done. The playoffs are very much a war of attrition. And the more games you pile up in rounds 1 and 2, that is weight that you carry with you into round 3 and hopefully round 4. But the mileage is cumulative. You run out of gas. If you're playing 14 games before you get to game 1 of round 3, the beating on your body just compounds and makes it much more difficult to keep up the level of play that is going to be required to take this all the way. For them to have a real shot to pull this off, They'd really need to get out of this series in 5 games. 6 at an absolute max. 5 or less would probably be ideal. They just need to play less hockey early on. Keep their mileage down. Keep the tread on the tire. If this goes 7, it's very much a bad sign moving forward, because then look, this is Washington, and Washington's not very good. If you need 7 games to get through Washington, that's a really bad sign for when you got to play the Carolinas, Floridas of the world, whoever we're going to end up playing against, right? So probably getting Carolina in round 2. Scares the hell out of me. I'm not looking forward to that at all. Anyway, when they get there, they need to be as fresh as possible for that opponent. They need to start fast, win the early games, exert their dominance over the Capitals, and break their will. The way this went for them, this is very much could be a case of the Caps just being happy to be there. They need to take advantage of that. Crush their hopes early. Listen, if the Rangers lose game 1 on Sunday, we are not going to act rationally. It's not what we do. And there's something to be said that the Caps are playing with house money, having less pressure. All the pressure in the world is on the Rangers in this series. Nobody expects the Capitals to win. That pressure will intensify if they don't get out to a series lead, and the longer this series goes. It is imperative. Get out of this in a short series, conserve the energy, don't stress yourself out in these must-win elimination type games. Have your tank fuller when you need it, where it's going to be against higher level competition, and it's not going to be as easy. My college roommate's pulling for his Caps. Well, he should, but not that many more games, in my opinion, for the Capitals. Erik Karlsson, yeah. Last time we swept the team doesn't even exist anymore. The Atlanta Thrashers, 2006. Thank you for reminding me of 2012. Yeah. Dave, it's funny. Yes, you're 110% correct. It was Eric Stahl and Mark Stahl and Nick Holden on the ice to blow the 1-goal lead. I know. I know. It was their third pairing, and they were on the ice way too much. It drove me nuts. Crazy to think teams playing tonight have only 1 day rest. Could be playing Saturday. Problem caused by the NHL itself. Totally agree. Series cannot go 6 or 7. Yes, my brother. Well, your brother's probably higher on your Ranger fan list than Eric with a K. Ovi's jersey going into the freezer on Sunday. All the pressure in New York's on the Rangers. Yes, I agree. They have to. We need an easy one, guys. We need it for our mental health. We need it for our sanity. We need to beat down a bad team because we're better than them. We don't need to play down to our opponents, and they do that. Rangers need game 1. Rangers get game 1. No, I'm just wearing a general Ranger shirt. I will never, and the Rock means ever, wear a division championship shirt because I do not care. Irrelevant. Talked a bit about Filip Chytil. That was some rather surprising good news that he is back on the ice. We thought he was going to be out for the rest of the season and possibly longer, and he's back at practice in a regular practice jersey. All reports, all we can go on, because, what we hear is that the Rangers have not rushed him back. He's been cleared, and he wanted to be out there. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves, right? None of this means he's going to play in the playoffs. Doesn't mean he's not, but doesn't mean that he is. It would be an amazing story on top of all the other amazing stories of the Rangers this season. We're not going to say he's going to play, but if he does, A, what a jolt that could be for this team, and B, it's about time the Rangers pull a Vegas with this cap circumvention. Okay? Everybody else does it. We should do it too. Now, where would he play? Well, I think the obvious spot would be the right side of Mika and Kreider. I just don't think he goes back to third line center. I think Wenberg's pretty much locked in there. Unless you move Wenberg around, I don't know that you're really going to do that because that line's been really good, especially defensively. Roslovic's been okay. Not exactly the 2022 Frank Vetrano that we were all kind of hoping that he would be. I would absolutely try Chytil there. I know we're doing experiments in the playoffs. I get it, but I think his talent level warrants it. Could be a very good shooter on that line too. I don't know where that leaves Roslovic. I also don't really care. They'll figure it out. But I think if you can get Chytil in the lineup, you should. I'm not saying he's going to play. I don't want you to think, oh, this BlueTruth saying Chytil's back in. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is it would certainly be a bonus for the team, and it's about time that we benefit from cap gymnastics the way Tampa and Vegas done. I'd love to see it, but it's nothing but encouraging. Imagine the Garden if Chytil skates out for the playoffs. I mean, how wild that would be. That would be awesome, and you know it. Rich Salvati. I got for your Rangers. You're going to think it'll be easy series. Caps come out flying. Well, that's because you're a Ranger fan, Rich. We're meant to always prepare ourselves for the worst. So that proves to me you've been around this team for a little while. Mike, I'll be there as well. Dimitri, remember the soup? Yeah, can you hear us? Yes. Yeah, but Dimitri, that's what we do, right? Like we make it about us. It was forever immortalized in Blue Shirt Underground's intro, which I love. By the way, Blue Shirt Underground, if you're not following that, 2 Guys, 1 Cup, Blue Collar Blue Shirts. Those guys do phenomenal Ranger coverage. I encourage everyone to check them out. Wonderful people. They do a wonderful job. All Rangers coverage is great, so I encourage it. Mark Brown, Rangers playing the Vegas Tampa LTIR game. Yeah. Molly said he was in a blue top 6 jersey. So Mark, play the game with me. Where else would he be if not top line right wing? What other top 6 spots open? Colton, love you, Rangers. Hey, thank you, brother. Like and share. We appreciate it. We have a lot of fun. Talk a little bit more about how the page is doing in a minute because I have a lot of thanks for you guys to talk about, which we'll get there. Responding to the "Can you hear us?" I've heard the Garden crowd in 30 years. Dave, you got to go to a game. I've been to you. Yes, I think they bring the sound level down on TV. I do. I've been there. You know. Am I going to any round 1 games? I'm working on that. I need the schedule to come out so I can see what games I might be going to. I think I have an in for a game 5 at the moment. We'll see where that goes. I'll find out. And if I am, I will absolutely let everybody know and where I'll be because I love meeting you guys. I'll talk more about that as in the closing because I do have to thank you guys for everything that you do for me. Matt, hold that thought. It's coming. You see all the smart guys saying Chytil, Remby should be in the same line. Yeah, that's not. No. Why is Jones not in the lineup? Well, I think they're going to go with their veteran lineup and see where it goes. I mean, Gustafson's played well offensively. Look, Ken, the good thing about Jones like playing as well as he has this year is that you feel okay about him taking that spot next year. You don't have to re-sign Gustafson. So love it. I'd sell a kidney to make a playoff game. I have family in Melbourne. So I remember the WWE did an event in Perth and it was 5 a.m. and I got up to watch wrestling because I'm an idiot and that's what I do. Anyway. Speaking of wild, I am here to tell you that you should be rooting for the Islanders pretty heavily the next couple weeks. Sounds a little nauseating. You're not going to feel good about it, but you absolutely 1000% want to see the Islanders in round 2, assuming that the Rangers will be in round 2 because, oh my God, if they don't, where the hell are we going to be? What you don't want is you do not want to see the Carolina Hurricanes in round 2. Carolina is currently the odds-on favorite to win the whole shebang. They have the 2nd most points in the league behind the Rangers. They are a familiar foe and an extremely daunting one should the Rangers see them in the next round. If the Islanders and their 39 impressive wins are able to take down Carolina, boy, does that help the Rangers immensely. Now, I'm not saying the Rangers can't beat Carolina. I would probably, if you asked me gun to my head, I'd think Carolina would beat the Rangers. I've been wrong before. I'd be thrilled to be wrong again. But to avoid them entirely would be amazing. And the only way to avoid them entirely is to have the Islanders beat them. So what's that stupid thing those troglodytes do? Yes, they stole it from Daniel Bryan in WWE all day. Great. Go Islanders. Beat them. Get them out of the Rangers' way. Win a series. Don't care. The less I see of Carolina, the better my general heart health is going to be. So get them out of the way. You should be rooting for the Islanders. It's fact. It is. It does. Kristen, yes, I know. I know. I know. But I'm right. You know that I'm right. You do not want. The goal is to win a Stanley Cup by any means necessary. I don't care. We'll just beat the Islanders in round 2. That's fine. Get Carolina out of the way. Islanders a much easier matchup for the Rangers. And I know, yes, Dave, yes, PJ, I know. I don't feel good about it either, but it helps us. Think about what's us. Ken, I don't always agree with everything you say, but I love the coverage you give this team. Yeah, that's a non-homer opinion. Ken, I think that we all love the team. We all want what's best for the team. We're always not all going to agree. And, discourse is fine. We can't always agree all the time. That wouldn't be fun. So I appreciate the kind words there. And we could always discuss anything that you want to talk about. Because again, I like that too. I've never said at any point that I'm always right, because clearly I'm not. That's foolish to say that, right? So I always love hearing everybody else's perspective for 2 reasons. Either A, makes me reconsider mine, or B, it emboldens mine. So I'm always on that same wavelength. Thank you for the kind words. Hoping that series goes to game 7, goes to overtime. Yes. Or at least they take Carolina 6 or 7. Just beat them. I don't want to play Carolina. Carolina, I hate Carolina. I love Carolina. I love their roster. I love I love the way they play. Like, I hate that. I hate it. They're really, really good. So I'd like to not play them if at all possible. So I'm not wrong. PJ, who is a better matchup for the Rangers in round 2? The Hurricanes or the Islanders? The better matchup is who you want to win the series. Period. You know that I'm right on that. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Don't lie. Yeah. I know. Look, again, I'm not saying the Rangers can't beat Carolina, but Carolina is the primary roadblock between the Rangers and the finals as far as I'm concerned. And yes, they got Jay Gensel, 8 goals and 17 assists in 17 games. He's been great. Could you imagine if they had Gensel right now? Hate it. Look, they're very, very good. Let's try to avoid them at all costs. Go Islanders until we beat your ass in round 2. So all that we know right now is that game 1 is Sunday at 3 p.m. We can surmise, based on the Knicks schedule, that game 2 should probably be Tuesday. If you watch this show, and I know a lot of you do because I see a lot of the same names, which is awesome. Love you guys. You know how I feel about playoff hockey. It is all stress and nausea. It is a cardiac workout. We'll be keeping everybody up to date with everything going through the journey that hopefully leads us to a parade in June. It's been 30 years. As a 10-year-old when they won, I didn't know that I would have to take Sam Rosen so goddamn literally, with this one lasting a lifetime. They have an opportunity. They do. Yeah, but Jay, we got to get to Florida first. I am unaware of this. Tom, what is the schedule? I didn't see that because I've been on the show. Please post the schedule if you have it, and I will post it as we're doing this live. On a personal note, a couple of things that I want to close with. BlueTruth has broken 9,400 followers with the playoffs just days away. Is that a coincidence? Is that an omen? Maybe it's a great harbinger for the playoff run. I say that because I want to thank all of you for the support. This has been an immense amount of fun for me to build from nothing. We're closing in on 10,000 followers. Your kind words are always appreciated. You make this so much fun for me, and I'm indebted to you for that. I mean that. The comments that you share of how much you're enjoying the page and the podcast and the news and the funny memes and the shots we take at the stupid fans of rival teams, I see it all, and it's awesome. So thank you all for making this as fun as it is. I started this page as a bit of an offshoot of the sports box, and it's really taken on a life of its own, and I love it. So thank you. Thank you. Tom, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Okay. There you go. You got followers because you're a real fan. Yeah, thank you. Robert, thank you. Look, I live and die with this team. I again, like I say on my commercial, I think about this team every third thought in my mind's about the team. So am I sick in the head? Yeah, probably. What do you want me to do? This is how I'm wired. This is how I'm wired. Second thing I just want to touch on tonight. It's been about a month, but I was able to have the absolute pleasure of taking my son Braden to his first Rangers game on March 17th. That was the 5-2 win over the Islanders. I was lucky enough also to bring my dad and my wife along. So special thanks to Scott Spector, Eileen Hoffman. Love you both more than you know. There were 3 generations of my family inside the Garden for the first time. He had a blast. He sang the goal song. He cheered along with the Let's Go Rangers chants. He said it was the best day, and he couldn't wait to go back. And as a dad, like, I just can't put into words what that meant for me. But I do know that some of you know exactly what I'm talking about because you've lived it as well. At its core, fandom is built on tradition and bonds. The Rangers were instilled in most of us from a very young age through someone that we love. For many of us, we were brought up into it. It was not a choice, so we made for ourselves as much as the path was chosen for us. My son's going to make a lot of decisions in his life, one of which is not the hockey team that he's going to root for. That was chosen for him. You know, this logo may not be the Attard family crest, but it may as well be the Attard family crest. The experience of that day really had me reflecting on my roots as a Ranger fan and how core it is for me. I know how core it is for you. You know, I started going to the Garden in 1992 with my dad when I was 8. The Rangers lost my first game. I'll never forget it. It was a game against the new expansion Tampa Bay Lightning. And they lost 5-1. That's probably should have told me where things were going to go, right? But the outcome didn't really matter. What mattered was that I shared it with my dad. And from there, that the whole experience of it sunk its teeth into me and never let go. You know, being a Ranger fan is, as you can easily tell, pretty central to my identity. It's stitched into the fabric of my life. I know you feel the same. It's part of us all. It's what unites us. That's what makes us want the team to succeed so much and causes the pain when they don't. We live it with our heart on our sleeves. But that was a special day. I go to a lot of games. They kind of blend into each other. I won't ever forget that one. And I've got photos and videos, so. Dimitri, I love when people question the validity of your updates. Your responses are priceless. Like, what do you think? I made it up? I mean, like, why? Why would I make this up? What's in it for me? I mean, like, it's just, it's my condescension, Dimitri. You know my thoughts. Sarah, love it. Dimitri, I've been bringing my son since he was 4, 3 generations. He's my twin. Yeah, he's definitely mine. Every Ranger is going to cost you double. You know what? It's only money. Make more. That was such a great day. I mean, I was smiling from ear to ear. I mean, the win was a bonus, right? Because he had a great time. He did, and I think that's wonderful. My boy's first game was a loss to Pittsburgh. Well, there you go. That's okay. Get that going. Dave, remember, Ranger fans are the best in the league. Worst home advantage in sports. You got to get back to the Garden one time. I know you're down in Florida, I think, Dave, but you got to make your way back one time. I think that you'll change your tune. Maybe I'm wrong. I think not. The original Pump Up video always said, "Pass down generation to generation." He and I need a new moment. Yeah. My son's in college. Hope he comes home to watch the games with me on Sunday. MSG should do something nicer than a paper certificate, particularly for kids. Yeah, I mean, it's, like I said, it was awesome. I can't put into words how just surreal that was for me, but he wants to go back, so I got to bring him, right? Next show. I don't know when. We'll probably do something between playoff rounds would be my guess. Maybe even a post game. I don't know. I'll figure it out as we go along. I'm just as wired as you guys are. I can't wait for Sunday. I'm already getting nauseous and stressed out, and I shouldn't be because this should be an easy series. Famous words, right? Easy series. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Like, follow, and share. Subscribe. Real stuff starts on Sunday. Let's go, Rangers. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you again soon, hopefully with a lot more playoffs to cover because they would have advanced. So take care, everyone. Talk soon.